Anyway, in second in command of the knights assembled there was a member of the Crimson Wardens who was known as Arsenic.
Arsenic, like the deadly poison.
Yes, he used a wide variety of biological weapons in his arsenal. They were not the most effective,
Would
but
biological,
well, what?
yeah, like you're fighting zombies. How would biological weapons work?
Well, they were moderately effective against the zombies, against the skeletons, not so much. I mean, they were still, though, among the best. They were the weapons that he had trained in, so he had, little choice but to use them. And he,
Hmm.
despite their limited effectiveness, he was able to use them, you know, quite well, all things considered. I mean, he was, second in command of the most elite group assembled in, recent history, or then recent, I suppose. This was so long. It's hard to believe that this was millennia ago. It feels just like just a few years. Anyway, yes, I mean, Arsenic was rather brash and hot-headed, but he was supposedly to have a gentle heart, all things considered, for one who used chemical weapons.
Yeah, another thing about that, like that means he trained in chemical weapons and used them on people. Isn't that, illegal or immoral?
Well, I mean, from what I understand, before the outbreak of the war, he only used them in, the in subduing and executing, escaped criminals and vicious mercenaries and all other band of, monstrous creatures and criminals.
I feel like
Uh,
burning an escaped criminal to
Some,
death with arsenic seems a bit cruel.
only the worst, Joe. You must understand the mass murders and just the worst people of our society, or at least what we thought would be the worst until Bratton emerged as.
Wouldn't it be easier to just shoot him in the face?
Again, Sir Joe, I am not much of a combatant myself. I cannot comment as to whether one form of killing is more effective than the other. I know a little more than whacking enemies with the sword seems to do something, so I generally stick with that and nothing more.
Eh.
Eh, there's that term again. Yes, but
Less a term and more of a sound. Just eh.
alright, fine, there's that sound again. Is that better?
Yes.
Alright, very good then. Now, another man that was, amongst the amongst the, excuse me, knights that were present was a man named Schmitty. He was, I'm not sure what his real name is. I
Named what
assume
now?
Schmitty. I assume that it was a nickname. If it was, I do not know what his real name was, but he was a good friend of my Uncle Ferdinand's. Kind and jovial fellow. I actually met him once, although this was before the outbreak of the war. He was quite skilled in the blade and shield, so quite noble. There were many
That's
others
it.
that.
Just go to the sword and shield.
Well, do you want a biography? Or again, I only met him once, and it was in brief. I was actually only a child at the time. I mean, you say only
Eh.
just what?
It feels a little unsatisfying after you spend so long talking about arsenic potion guy and medieval Batman.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, am I supposed to make up history so that each of these, warriors of, the best that our societies were able to muster has some sort of gimmick? I mean, yes, using the.
No, I just figured you might have heard about. I mean, you heard about the rest of the stuff.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, using bit of sword and shield may seem rather mundane, but in the right hands, they are quite effective. I mean, shield is as deadly a weapon as the sword, if used properly. I'm
I'd probably say
told that.
it's as deadly weapon as a hammer because you hit things with it. I don't know about cutting.
Well, what, I'm not saying that the shield was able to cut like the sword, merely that it was dead. You know what? Never mind. Anyway, I'm I've heard many stories that, you know, um, Schmitty was able to save countless individuals over the course of the war by blocking arrow shots from those vicious skeletons with his, noble shield. Let's see, who else was involved in the raid? There was a man named Bloker. It was a rather strange name. He actually hailed from Dire. He was not of my own people, so I do not know very much about him, although from
I
what
guess you
little
could say he was a strange bloke. No? Nothing?
So Joe,
Not familiar with that term?
I must concede that was mildly amusing, rather disrespectful all things considered, but mildly amusing. That's better than your recent
I'll take what I
attempts.
can get.
Yes, very fair enough. But anyway, from what little I know about him, though, Bloker was something of a berserker. He would charge into conflicts and fly into a terrible rage, during which he would use his mighty warhammer and crush and smash any undead in his path. He actually once, although he did not thankfully kill any of our own forces, and I believe there were a few cases where he inadvertently injured our own men while in the midst of his rage, for he had very much difficulty discerning friend from foe, so great was his bloodlust.
Well, I suppose he'd be super effective against skeletons. Like, you certainly can't stab or shoot a skeleton. They're just bones.
If you lop off the head, I believe it is quite effective. I mean, we have both, used our swords to defeat those, nasty skeletons. It's
Well, it's like,
honestly,
eventually they'd work, but they're already dead, so I don't see how chopping the head off would make a difference. Gotta beat them up into tiny bits.
you know, I do not question such things, Joe. I mean, if you're fighting a skeleton and it falls before you, are you really going to stop and wonder, why is it not fighting me still? Are you really going to desire that it get up and come at you again?
Well, I'd like to make sure it can't possibly get up and come at me again. I mean, if we've reanimated bones once, what's to say you can't reanimate them again, unless they're ground to a fine powder that can't possibly grab anything to shoot you.
But the man that reanimated them was killed 1,000 years ago, so nobody's going to reanimate them again.
Well, once he's dead, you don't have to worry about it, yeah, but at the time, I mean...
Fair enough. Anyway. Yeah, so. So, going back to what I remember of, the direct account from my Uncle Ferdinand, the search for the Temple of Thun was a rather long one, especially since it was, bitter winter at the time, and we're running low
Did it
on
have a
rat.
boulder trap?
Did it have a what? A boulder trap?
A boulder trap.
As in, like the booby trap with a large rock involved in some strange way?
Yeah, like, go down a tunnel and a rock tries to crush you.
Perhaps.
It's a Temple of Doom joke.
A Temple of what? You had temples?
Temple of Doom.
What is this Temple of Doom?
We had a movie. It was a temple in a movie with a notorious boulder as a trap. It's like the most famous booby trap in all of cinema. Strangely effective too.
Again with your movies. No, if there was a boulder trap, do not remember that Uncle Ferdinand mentioned it. Perhaps there was. Perhaps there wasn't.
That's a shame.
Do you desire that there had been boulder traps to crush the noble warriors fighting from my people's survival?
I'm just kind of disappointed, bad guy didn't think to include a boulder, and the adventurers didn't get to, use the boulder against the zombies or run away from a boulder. And you have to admit, it'd be exciting.
Well, if it was a trap in place, though, I would think that, Bratton would have been using it against my own people rather than the other way around.
Well, no, that's why you lure the zombies over to the trap and make them spring it, dude. The dumb zombies. Like, their brains have literally rotted out.